Good morning, and welcome to another episode of All Things Considered. Normally, I talk about politics in Seattle and homelessness and trying to fix it, city council. I'm kind of a downer in my videos a little bit for that, I suppose. So, today I wanted to talk about something that was pleasantly surprising for me, and hopefully, I won't ruin it too much for you in case you want to go see it. But in 2019, I had the pleasure of seeing a movie with Tom Hanks called It's a Beautiful Day in Our Neighborhood, with Tom Hanks playing Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. At first, I didn't want to see it because I didn't think Tom Hanks looked a lot like Mr. Rogers. I kept hearing Forrest Gump in his voice, and this whole thing just kind of turned me off, but I watched it anyway. And it's not about Fred Rogers. It's not about Mr. Rogers. It's not about his life story. It is about a man who works for Esquire and is charged with interviewing Mr. Rogers. He has a very nasty reputation for ripping people apart in his interviews, not making them look very good, being very brutally honest to the point where it can hurt somebody's feelings. So, Mr. Rogers, in a sense, sought this gentleman out to do this interview. And I was thinking, okay, fine. He's doing this interview, and he finds out a side of Mr. Rogers that he didn't know existed. He got to know the real person, not the character, Mr. Rogers. And he also found out a lot about himself. It's sort of like meeting a stranger and helping them find their way. They're a broken down person and they need help. They're at the end of their rope, and you help them climb up the rope and get back on solid ground. That's Mr. Rogers. He liked everybody, but he loved the broken and the despair and the people that needed help. Those are the ones that he loved. He loved a good project because he believed everybody deserves a second chance. Well, this reporter is married to a woman, and she found out that he was going to interview Mr. Rogers, and she said, "Please do not screw up my childhood." And the success with Mr. Rogers is that although he did shows catering to children in a way that children could understand them, he never forgot that children are smarter than you think they are. And that's how he came up with his subject matters that he spoke on, such as death and marriage, and sometimes he even spoke about divorce. But he did it in such a way that a child could understand it, knowing that the child could understand more than we think they can. Because as we get older and we become adults, we forget what it's like to become a child. We forget what it was like for us when we were children, how we felt when we went through certain things, when we were told certain things. So Mr. Rogers kind of helps connect with that. As I was watching the movie, I was starting to see Mr. Rogers. Of course, you can still see Tom Hanks, but you can see Mr. Rogers in Tom Hanks. You can see Fred Rogers. in Tom Hanks. And that was the beauty of the whole movie. You got to know Mr. Rogers. You got to know where he was born. You got to know where he was raised, his military service, and things like that. But it wasn't a documentary about his life. It was about a time in his life where he was able to help somebody. And for that, it's one of my top 10 favorite movies now by Tom Hanks. My first one being a little corny, silly movie, it was called Larry Crowne that came out in 2013. Was it 2013 or 2011? Anyway, the movie came out a few years back. It was called Larry Crowne. And I liked that movie because it was simple. And the actors that are in it connected well. The soundtrack to the movie was good. And the soundtrack to the movie was good. And it all melded together really well. And it's not a very heavy movie, but it deals with some heavy subjects. But it's done in such a way that Mr. Rogers would have probably have approved. Those are not my top movies of all time, but they are my top Tom Hanks 1 through 10. There's other movies that I like, Angels and Demons and The Da Vinci Code, and I liked You Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle, and I love those other movies too. But when he did Larry Crowne, for me, that's my go-to movie when I just need something to relax and watch. I mean, I've got other movies too. John Wayne's movie In Harm's Way, Morgan Freeman's movie Magic of Belle Island, and I've got several movies that I can put on that are light that I can watch anytime. I mean, the Frasier Crane TV show, I probably watched that a good 40 or 50 times already, all the way through. But yeah, Mr. Rogers, that was good. They put a lot of thought in how they were going to make the movie, and for that, it's an enjoyable watch. And if you haven't seen it, please do. It's very much a good movie. And if you have seen it, please put a comment down below to let me know what you thought of it. And if you haven't seen it, let me know when you do. If you have an idea for another video, please put it in the comments below, down below my finger. If you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button as well, because I cannot, it's over here somewhere, the subscribe button. So if you get a chance, do that. I'm not in it to make a lot of money, but I am in it to keep doing it, because although I don't have a lot of subscribers, the ones that have subscribed, I value very much. You're my YouTube family. And for those who bump into my videos by accident, thank you as well. Can't do it without you. And we're in this world together, making the place a better stay today and tomorrow and the day after. And just remember, if you can do something to help somebody, please do. If you can say hello to somebody, please do that. You never know, it might brighten up their day. Also, if somebody helps you, please say thank you. It's the polite thing to do. Never take anything for granted. Accidents never happen by accident. So, having said all that, this has been All Things Considered. Have a good day, Seattle, America, and all points beyond.